Hello everyone. I've not made a video like this for a little while now, but I've been prompted to by a relatively recent video put out by the Tank Museum, specifically the director of the Tank Museum, talking about what's referred to as Hobart's pike, which is in fact a Croft Spike, and of course Percy Hobart in conjunction within the video. Both very interesting topics in their own right. The Croft Spike is a very interesting weapon issued to the Home Guard, a very strange thing, which we'll talk a little bit more about as the video progresses. But I will go into greater detail regarding the Croft Spike in the future in a separate video which covers it in its own right. And also talking about Percy Hobart, of course, who was a very eccentric and interesting character in the British Army of the time. I'll just play you a clip here from the video to show you how these two topics are meshed together, which talks about Hobart's service in the Home Guard, which is an interesting period of his service for sure.
At this particular point, Hobart, in his suspended animation, is actually a corporal in the Home Guard. He's commanding the Chipping Campden Village Home Guard. And because the British Army is so short of equipment, he's been issued with the only kind of things they have available at the time. And this spear, this pike, was Percy Hobart's personal weapon with which he was planning to take on the might of the German war machine, the Wehrmacht. And Hobart clearly thought he would have a fighting chance.
So that makes for a nice story, Hobart's service in the Home Guard, being issued a Croft's pike. However, there's a major anachronism in this, which we'll talk about now. I'll talk about the Croft's pike in a little bit more detail first. As I say, this will be covered in a future video, but just to run over a bit of its history here. It first of all gets its name from Henry Croft, who was Under Secretary of State for War, and he acted on a letter sent by Winston Churchill in June of 1941, which was prompted by the fall of Crete. And this prompted Churchill to state that every man should be issued a weapon, be it a pike or a mace, they should have something. And the War Office took him at his word and procured the Croft's pike for the Home Guard. These were introduced in late 41, early 42, certainly more common by early 42 than late 41. And they were hated. By this time, of course, the Home Guard were actually receiving Sten machine carbines and a lot more effective weaponry of that nature. At this point, the Home Guard was becoming a lot more professional, and their training was becoming a lot more advanced. The idea of the pike seemed a bit of a joke to them and insulting. The major problem arises in the fact that we're talking late 41, early 42 for the introduction of this weapon. Hobart had rejoined the British Army and was in command of 11th Armoured Division by March of 1941. So there's a good few months gap between him having rejoined the British Army proper and the Croft's pike appearing for issue in the Home Guard. This is where the anachronism is, by a good 6 months at least, in terms of the arrival of the Croft's pike and Hobart having served in the Home Guard. It is worth mentioning that the Croft's pike in the Tank Museum collection has had the blade engraved with Pike as issued to Lance Corporal PCS Hobart, Home Guard, etc. However, there's no indication of when this engraving was actually carried out, and it's Pike as issued to, as opposed to saying this is Hobart's pike itself. This doesn't provide evidence, of course, in the face of the inconsistent dates, that this pike was in fact issued to Percy Hobart. I'd say I did comment on the video asking for clarification if the Tank Museum had any information which might explain this, but at present it seems like Hobart would not have been issued one of these. They just didn't exist at the time he was serving with the Home Guard. They came quite a bit later. So there we are, slightly different video today. I have made videos like this before, but it's been a little while. I hope you found it interesting. As I say, slightly different, but I do hope you found it interesting. If you have and you'd like to see more of this sort of thing, then please do consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't already. And whether you're newly subscribing or you've already subscribed, please make sure you hit the little bell, the little notification button down below. That, of course, will alert you when I upload future videos. If you really like my uploads and you'd like to support the channel, you can. There's both a Patreon and a PayPal link down below. And if you want to follow the channel on social media, of course, there's also Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter all linked down below too. If you want to make contact but you don't really use social media, there's also an email address down there as well. But that's everything I wanted to cover in this video, I think. So, until next time, bye for now.